Welcome to the Concrete Briefing. I am your host, Carter Concrete. Today, we are not just reporting the news. We are dissecting a cultural metamorphosis. We are witnessing the birth of a new era where street codes meet digital dynasties. We are looking at the architects of this transition, Fat Joe, Jadakiss, Tony Yayo, and Uncle Murda. This is a thriller about the evolution of power, how the grimy tactics of the legendary Violator era have been recalibrated for high-stakes digital monetization. This is the truth behind the headlines. This is the briefing. Our narrative begins with a high-level summit between two titans, Fat Joe and Jadakiss. Over a toast of 1800 tequila, a monumental shift was confirmed. Tony Yayo and Uncle Murda are officially launching their own platform, The Real Report, under the Volume family this January. But let's analyze the business argument behind this move. The traditional 9-to-5 for a modern rapper has fundamentally shifted. The core argument here is that music is no longer the primary revenue stream. The narrative is the asset. Tony Yayo, a man whose cultural history is defined by unwavering loyalty, a loyalty Joe compares to the late Kobe Bryant, has transitioned from what many called a highly paid hype man to a media powerhouse. Yayo now treats digital interviews, such as those on Vlad TV, with the same professional rigor as a corporate executive because that is where the capital lives. Why the pivot? Fat Joe states it plainly. Nobody listens to the radio anymore. The terrestrial gatekeepers have fallen. The $1 billion worth of experiences these veterans carry is far more valuable to the digital audience than a 3-minute chart-topping single. To truly understand the gravity of these personalities, we must explore the confrontations that forged them. This isn't just street lore. It is a case study in inherited beef, in an exclusive revelation. Fat Joe recounted a harrowing standoff in Chicago with Young Buck during the peak of the G-Unit and Terror Squad conflict. The setting, a winter jam in the freezing Chicago night. As Joe exited the stage, a voice from a balcony challenged him. Joe's reaction was a specific cultural blackout, a refusal to flee. While a physical altercation occurred through the gaps of a staircase before police could intervene, the deeper argument Joe makes is that these conflicts were often not personal. They were grimy tactics inherited from their associations, specifically under the management of the legendary and controversial Chris Lighty. This illustrates a cultural history where the Mecca, New York, often stood against the world. Let us delve into the linguistic roots of this world. Terms like scout that, lining you up, or the selective rat are not just slang. They are the vocabulary of a complex social hierarchy. Joe and Yayo argue that the modern application of street codes has become hypocritical. They point to a changing moral guard in hip-hop, where individuals labeled as rats are embraced by the industry as long as they produce good music. This linguistic evolution reflects a shift from rigid street loyalty to a more fluid, commercialized era where the lines of the code are blurred for the bottom line. Perhaps the most compelling thriller element in this briefing is the legend of Uncle Murda. For years, he was known as the man who survived a bullet to the head. Under the journalistic lens of The Real Report, the truth is finally clarified. Murda admits he was not technically shot in the head by a projectile. During a confrontation in Harlem, a bullet struck the glass of his vehicle. It was the shattering glass that caused the dramatic, bloody injuries to his face. Why allow a falsehood to persist for decades? Murda argues it was simply a better story. In an era dominated by 50 Cent's superhero narrative, being a Terminator who survived a headshot was the ultimate marketing tool. It was a precursor to the modern algorithm, a way to ensure his name remained in the cultural conversation. He even joked with journalists about the bullet falling out of his head to maintain the mystique. We cannot conclude this analysis without discussing the man who bridged the gap between the block and the boardroom, Chris Lighty. Consider the humble beginnings. Fat Joe signed his first deal in the middle of a street block, with no lawyer, for $50,000, based entirely on his trust in Lighty's Violator vision. Lighty was more than a manager. He was a diplomat who attempted to broker peace between warring factions to ensure everyone could survive to see the Legitimate paper. The real report is the spiritual successor to Leidy's legacy. It represents the final transition from the Chitlin circuit to becoming global icons. These men are no longer just rappers. They are historians of the golden era, recounting sessions with Biggie Smalls and the liquid hash culture of 90s studios. As we wrap up this briefing, the conclusion is clear. The murder game may have no jurisdiction, but the media game is the new frontier for survival. Joe, Jada, Yayo, and Murda are choosing to rewind the time and secure their legacies through digital dynasties rather than street conflicts. They have realized that their stories, their $1 billion worth of experiences, are their greatest assets. This has been the Concrete Briefing. We have explored the facts, analyzed the arguments, and deconstructed the thriller that is New York hip-hop history. Stay loyal, stay professional, and stay tuned for the next report. I'm Carter Concrete, signing off.